So as I said, I like Taylor Swift. Didn't go to the concert, would rather give that ticket to a diehard. But I like her, I like what she does. I like what she does for humanity in terms of making people happy. I don't like her hypocrisy and what she does for the environment. Now, I'm no environmentalist, but she's contributing so much more to climate change than anyone else. Listen to these stats. So in 3 months at the end of 2023, Taylor Swift created 138 tons of carbon emissions. Now, to put that into perspective, Taylor Swift would need to plant 2,282 trees and allow them to grow for a decade to offset her emissions in a 3-month period. That's wild. And then for a full year in 2022, when she wasn't touring, she emitted 8,293.55 tons of carbon into the atmosphere. Now imagine the stats for 2023-24 when the Eras tour was on. Now, in terms of touring, I will give her and other celebrities a bit of a pass because they do need private planes to put all of their costumes, take around all of their crew. There's a lot that goes into a tour as big as the Eras tour. So I understand that. But all of this information was compiled before she was touring. So just a normal year when she was flying for pleasure, maybe for some interviews, she easily could have gone commercial. So those stats for 2022, which was 8,293 tons of carbon, that is 1,184.8 times the average person's total emissions for 1 year. Over 1,000 times more than the average person. And her average flight time was 48 minutes on a private jet. That's insane. It would have been so easy for her to hop on a commercial flight, go first class for all I care. But for 48 minutes, emitting that much carbon into the atmosphere when you're supposed to be a climate warrior, it makes no sense to me. And then when she was here, she sent her private jet to Honolulu just a couple of days ago to pick up her boyfriend. So from Sydney to Honolulu and back on a private jet to pick up one person. Like, I know you're rich and famous, but it really doesn't bode well for your leftist climate change agenda. Stick him on a first class flight. Like, it would be exactly the same. And the rebuttal to this is that Taylor bought carbon credits which offset her CO2 emissions. I did some digging and it turns out carbon credits are a bit of a scam. They're nothing more than a vanity metric. They're a political creation. The Wall Street Journal editorial board says that carbon credits lets companies and countries and now celebrities virtue signal. They said if a manufacturer wants to claim it is reducing emissions, it can buy a credit rather than use gas or coal power. Instead of flying commercial, Miss Swift can buy credits to offset trips on her $40 million Dassault aircraft, that's her private jet. Carbon offsets don't significantly reduce emissions, but they do promote the illusion that a net zero world is possible. What they're saying is that it's all smoke and mirrors. They're basically paying to look good, they're paying to virtue signal. It's classic celebrity behavior, one rule for them, another rule for the rest of us. And if you look at celebrities overall, the average amount of CO2 produced by celebrities for their private jets is 3,376.6 tons each in the space of a year. Put that into perspective, the average person emits just 7 tons of CO2 annually. Compare 3,376.64 to 7. This is the chasm of celebrity. It's insane, isn't it? When you hear those numbers, you truly realize that they do live in a whole different world to us. Take Leonardo DiCaprio, for example. He's a hugely outspoken supporter of climate change issues. He's even created a foundation with his namesake to help climate change issues. But if you look at his everyday actions, he is not very climate friendly. He even hilariously took a private jet to the COP summit. That is a climate change summit. And and we know they all do it. We see them at the World Economic Forum, we see them at climate change conferences all the time. The rows of private jets, it's almost like they know that we're gonna see it and they're just trolling us. Dancing around saying, ha ha ha, we have all the money in the world to spend on private jets, we're not flying with the rest of you scum. But then equally, we'll create laws that will punish average people for keeping their lights on or for running their washing machine at peak times. Truly, this is the farce of our world that we live in at the moment. Oh, and also Leonardo DiCaprio is a great fan of mega yachts. You know what mega yachts do? Release a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere as well. Did you see those pictures of Leo on a mega yacht ringing in the new year with bikini clad models? I think climate change was the furthest thing from his mind at that point. And you know what? I'm not criticizing any of these people. No tall poppy here. If you have money, if you have connections, go and enjoy them. Believe me, any of us would be doing it. But don't then come and lecture all of us about how we should live our lives. And then how about Meghan and Harry? Oh God, Meghan and Harry, we love them over here. Biggest virtue signalers, agenda pushers, possibly out of all of the Hollywood elites. They will jump on any bandwagon: feminism, racial issues, climate change, LGBT, literally, they've done it all. Harry has spoken about climate change so many times. He said the climate change emergency is a race we are losing. The world has seen unprecedented temperatures, unrelenting storms, and undeniable science. He also said, with nearly 7.7 billion people inhabiting the earth, every choice, every footprint, every action makes a difference. Well, funny he would say that because he and his wife are very avid private jet users. They flew to Canada on a private jet very recently. They flew to the Caribbean on a private jet just at the end of this year for their holidays. And we all know that the environment around the Caribbean is very fragile, probably should not be adding CO2 into that atmosphere. They even took a private jet to stay at Elton John's place in France. I mean, if that's not bougie, I don't know what is. Once again, if they have connections, if they're besties with Elton John, good on them, go off. But for them to do that and then come out and go to all of these conferences, create a podcast that's basically woke virtue signaling FM, it doesn't look good and it's annoying. And that's why so many people hate Harry and Meghan, because what they say and what they do, there's a massive disconnect. So let's look at the list of the celebrities who use their private jets the most. Taylor Swift is number one. The rest of these are in no particular order, but it's Meghan and Harry, Kylie Jenner, Jay-Z, Alex Rodriguez, Steven Spielberg, Kim Kardashian, Mark Wahlberg, Oprah, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bill Gates. I'm sure there are more, but they're the top offenders. Now, what do you realize about this list? All of them are massive lefties. Massive lefties who will make us feel really bad about misgendering, who will give us lectures about driving a Toyota when they're driving a Tesla, because sorry, not everyone can afford a $100,000 plus eco-friendly car. And they'll rub shoulders with the elites who push the exact same agenda at these conferences where they all fly in on private jets, and then they'll all go on holiday in June in the south of France on their mega yachts, and then in the next month go to a conference and tell us that the world will end in 5 years if we, the plebs, don't change our action. It's absolutely infuriating, but it is typical Hollywood elitism. One rule for them, another rule for the rest of us.